We'll move on to our regular agenda.
Item 22, Agreement Public Works. Authorize the Interim Director of Public Works to execute Contract Change Order 60-02 to Contract 12002103 with Sukut Construction, LLC in the amount of $1,249,500.
Thank you. Craig, do you need a second setup, or are you good to go?
Good to go.
All right. Take us away.
I think I'm good to go now. Well, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I just felt I needed to say something because I remember when I was first asked to come to the county, to come help one more time. I rose to the occasion, and I just want to assure you, and I think you know that, but I just feel I need to say it. My duty is to serve you as best I can, giving you the best of my knowledge, abilities, giving you the best information possible. And that's, this is a difficult project that you guys have been working through, and I just want to assure you I'm giving you the best information that I can possibly give you. So with that, we'll move on. So this is the subject of, this is supplemental number 2 for change order 60 for the Wagon Trail project. This is the all-important dirt movement, roadway excavation work on that project. As you well know, the base change order was approved back in March as we were starting into this season of construction. That was followed by, on August 27, I presented to you supplemental number 1, and that was approved by your board at your September 10th meeting. And what was promised was to come back at this meeting to provide you additional information and a recommendation for a supplemental number 2 to try and get, this is targeted at getting us through this very important construction season. The updated information today, it starts with that we have made a change in how we've measured what dirt we have left out there. We had been following logs, daily load counts, and doing calculations based on that. But we had decided to go with what we felt was a more accurate, comprehensive instrument to give you the best, what we think is the best information available, and that's coming to you through a flyover topo provided by Sukut Construction. That flyover was dated August 26th. And just for those that aren't aware, that this technology is used when they first created the map for precondition, the precondition before we even started work on the site. It helped establish the quantities, the total cuts and fills for the original bid documents, and will be used to confirm quantities upon project completion to reconcile our roadway excavation payments. So again, we feel that this is the best source of information to tell you where you're at right now, on the remaining earthwork that needs to be done. So that is a big pivot from where we've been. So as we've also provided you, we have that base of information that gives us a good count from the date of that flyover to completion. That is roughly calling for roughly 84,000 cubic yards, saying that's what's left to be moved from that date to the end of construction. We also went back and looked at those load counts that occurred between the March 12 base agreement, base change order to the date of that flyover. That's about 66,000 additional cubic yards, and put that all together, and it totals up to about 150,000 cubic yards. And that's something that's a big number, and it's a big change. We started in that original change order talking about a 90,000 cubic yard number. So the two biggest things that have changed in that is when the MSE wall project came before you. Part of Part of what happened at the time that the board approved the change order for the construction of the MSC wall was we found out dirt that was planned to be used in that area was inadequate for backfill for that MSC wall. And as part of the change order for the wall itself, it provided basically a crushed rock fill, a specified fill to use with the wall. But when we did that, then that left us with some soil that we had planned on in the project, planned to use, but had to have a new home, essentially. So we've been bringing that to your attention for the last several weeks. So that takes us up from 90,000 that we calculated before to about 110, total. Okay, so what's the difference? And the difference is we believe is in rock that has been part of the discovery on this project, large quantities. And if you throw that in as well, that brings you up to this new total of 150,000 cubic yards. And I'm giving a gross simplification here, but just by way of explanation to you and for the public. But again, we feel that's the most accurate information that we currently have. So of that remaining 84,000 cubic yards of roadway excavation, 53,500 of that will be used in areas still requiring fill material, and there's a little over 30,000 cubic yards that would be worked into other areas of the project site. So that's your basic information update that provides the basis of the supplement number 2. So estimated net cost of work performed through July 17 actually has exceeded the supplement number 1 by about $95,000, and that will need to be covered by supplement number 2. Supplement number 2 assumes the 51,000 cubic yards that will be completed before the end of the 2024 construction season. We think that's an aggressive amount. It's a big order to try to move all that dirt. But everything that we can get done between now and the end of this construction season is work that doesn't have to happen, next year, which is our final year of construction. So we want to facilitate Sukut doing as much work as they can before winter really sets in on the site. Just wanted to point that out. Beyond that, we're looking at about another that would leave about 25,000 cubic yards to be dealt with in 2025. We are not recommending that in the supplement right now. We feel that it'd be better to wait, and in the spring, we'll have a better handle on exactly where we are in the dirt work, and then we can put the absolute best number on the quantity and on the price, and deal with that at that time. I skipped past the good news, if there's good news in any of this, is that the work that is coming, that's going to be performed now, we think the price of that's going to be going way down. We won't have all this original work that needed to be done. We don't believe we have as much rock to deal with. Fortunately, conditions are dry, so we don't have wet material that we're having to work and rework. So we feel it is going to be far less costly than before. Due to what I just said, is addition that we have large stockpiles that are out there. One stockpile, it's around 30,000 cubic yards of material that was actually stockpiled from work done in 2022, and it's sitting there, so it doesn't have to be, it's like not original excavation. It just needs to be either picked up or pushed, to where that's going to go. And we have relatively short distances where this material needs to travel to, and a lot of this is also fairly easy for placement. So while still costly, it's not nearly the cost that we've experienced as part of the base change order and in supplement 1. And we estimate then supplement 2 would cost approximately $1,250,000. So assuming all of what I've just told you holds true, these things will have happened with the base change order 60 and supplements 1 through 3 being the one that would be dealt with next spring sometime. Approximately 150,000 cubic yards of material will have been moved and placed, and the total with the total estimated net cost to the county of $4,405,000. That's $473,000 more than what I told you when we dealt with Supplement 1. Again, we had a lot more material that we had to factor into that, but also trying to factor in what we think the real cost of dealing with that less expensive material to move, take all that into consideration. Fortunately, in the budget that's just been approved, there is contained an allowance within the future change order part of our budget, and that is more than adequate to cover that $473,000. So that's, that's fortunate that we had that set aside. So that's really the request before you, is to go ahead and authorize me to go ahead and sign this change order and to basically get this work going, and come back to you, or my successor will be coming back to you and dealing with that final supplement. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Can't answer any questions. And I do have Howard Zabel, our project manager from Dewberry, here to help.
Questions from the board?
Not at the moment.
Public comment on this item? Mr. Butner. Same rules, 3 minutes.
My name is Christopher Butner, publisher of Calaveras 2024election.com. Supervisor Tofinelli, you recently voiced your frustration concerning the latest change order request for the Wagon Trail project. You questioned why both the project manager and the construction manager were caught unaware that the project cost overruns, pushing its price tag to $53 million. You were quoted last week in the Calaveras Enterprise as having stated, "Do we not have people out there on foot watching what's going on and not seeing it?" It appears that you were operating under the reasonable expectation, but a falsity, that there were competent, proactive, fiscally responsible people in place, people out there on foot, in your words, watching to serve as good stewards of the people's trust and tax dollars. Well, I want to share an observation with you. At the last Board of Supervisors meeting, that exchange of glances between you and Supervisor Stopper at the conclusion of my public comment was most revealing. Supervisor Stopper realized that I revealed him to the state for his serial campaign finance violations of the Political Reform Act, and he also realized that I'd leveraged his prior formal warning of financial penalties by the California FPPC for any future infractions. He also knows that I served him notice his career as a district supervisor was concluding, that he's no longer electable, and this is his final term. Supervisor Tofinelli, your Wagon Trail question asking, do we not have people out there on foot watching what's going on and not seeing it, is also appropriate as to it now pertains to the calamity unfolding within this Board of Supervisors concerning the harsh reality that 4/5 of the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors is now under state scrutiny for their respective FPPC campaign finance filings, and 2 members of this board have already been elevated to open and pending case status with the state investigations in process. My question to all of you is this: does this board even have the moral authority anymore to approve expenditures of more funds for the Wagon Trail Realignment Project without an independent forensic audit first occurring? Unfortunately for the entire Board of Supervisors, except for Jack Garamendi again, who demonstrates that he actually personifies FPPC legal filing responsibility, I was on the ground monitoring all of your FPPC filings and doing my duty as a conscientious citizen to report 4 of you to the state just as you deserved. Yes, I've watched what's going on, and it's shameful. And lastly, what labor union and local are the workers represented by? I'm Christopher Butner, publisher of Calaveras 2024election.com.
Thank you. Is there additional public comment in the room? Is there any public comment online?
There is no online public comment.
Okay, I'm going to bring it back to the board. Questions from the board? Supervisor Tofinelli.
So my question is, since March this year, been to the front of the board several times. In the March change order was 90,000 cubic yards. We're now in September, the end of September, and there's 84,000 cubic yards. Last time it was 53, now we found 84. It just seems to continue to escalate. And my question is, why do we just use Sukut's flyover now? Why, if we had it from the beginning and mapped the pre-construction area, why haven't we been using it all along? Why have we been continuing escalating since March and not realizing and bringing to this board something that we can actually believe in? Because right now, I'm telling you, I can't believe it's $1 million. I'll be very honest with you. And it's going to be till the end of the project. We've said all along to this board, brought it to this board all along, that, oh, this is it, this is it, this is going to be it. But everything is still an estimate. Even this says it's an assumption and an estimate, which tells me this isn't $1,249,000 isn't going to be enough to complete this project based on everything in the past going forward. I don't know why we didn't do this sooner and get accurate what you're claiming to be. Well, you're not even claiming that. You're still saying it's not accurate. It's an assumption. But it's a better assumption, apparently, than what we were doing before. I just don't know why we didn't do it before.
So back in March, we executed, or we wrote CCO 60 on the assumption with the information we had at the time that there was 90,000 cubic yards of material remaining. We did not do a topo at that time. The team discussed it. There was a cost and a time associated with doing an independent topo. And we made the decision to not do it at that time. I think in retrospect, we could all agree that maybe that's something we should have spent money and time doing. However, the quantities, at the end of the job, there will be a final topo, there will be an independent topo, and essentially the quantities will be reconciled at that time. But I will acknowledge that the 90,000 yards that was presented to you in March, yeah, that was a miss. It did not include, as Mr. Pedro mentioned, it did not include 20,000 yards where the new wall is that was approved in May. That's occupied by select structure backfill material. And it also did not include rock, the quantity of rock that was unknown at that time. So that change order did not address those two items.
So given that said, this estimate here, even with the flyover and the topo, you don't know if there's rock going to be discovered as they move the dirt. So this number is...
So what we have done, we don't know for sure exactly how much rock. We've looked at what we've done this season from March through September 17th. We have accurate records there, so we know now what we've done. The project team believes that the hardest and most expensive excavation is in the rearview mirror now. That's not to say there is no more rock. There are a few more blasts at Cut 5B and one at Hunt Road, I believe. Nothing like we've done this construction season in the past. So it is a correct statement where we don't know exactly, and you don't know exactly where things are going to be. However, just to give you a visual, The cut at Hunt Road has to come down about 50 feet, 50 feet. So in that 50 feet, you don't know exactly how much rock you're going to get into there. Well, now that cut is down to where there's 10 feet remaining. And so now there's enough material exposed where the team has including the contractor, right, has a pretty good idea of what remains. So I will share with you the way we came up with the estimated unit price for this budget, and again, it is an estimate, but it was based on essentially easier and less expensive dirt for most of it, plus a small portion that we acknowledge is going to cost more per cubic yard because of the blasting. So we, the estimate we believe was refined. We think it's reasonable. It still is an estimate, but we're using all the information we have to come up with that number.
I have a couple more questions. You mentioned reconciled at the end of the project. So that means if there's more dirt than what's in this change order, we're going to owe more money because you're going to reconcile. Once you do from the beginning, the flyover pre-construction to the end when the project's complete. You're going to estimate how many cubic yards versus what we're given a change order for here. And if it's more, what if it's less? Are we going to go back to Sukut and say, you owe us $1 million?
So that's a really good question and point you make. To clarify, this item we're talking about, roadway excavation, is paid for by the cubic yard, and it's an actual pay quantity. As are most bid items on the contract, that means the item is calculated, and the contractor is paid only for what they moved, no more, no less. So yes, it's a correct statement. It could wind up being more. It could also wind up being less. So it is the best information we have at the time. That topo, that flyover topo, was done August 26th. It was done by Sukut, so that was not an independently performed flyover. But that said, we feel it's the best information that we have given where we are. The final reconciliation will be done independently, so we know, and we've done it independently, we know what the final quantity winds up to be.
The other question I have is, I have two more questions. The next question is, I can't look at this and realistically believe this number is correct. 2 weeks ago, on the 10th, we were here and we voted for the first change order. And it was supposed to be through August and September. But yet this document in front of me now says, well, we're $94,000 or $100,000 over just from the 17th. So in 7 days from our buying into that change order one, we're already over by $100,000, and we still have this week, well, the 17th to the 30th, which is basically 13 days or 2 weeks, that they're still out there working, even though the change order says not to exceed amount. They're out there, so we don't even know what that's going to entail, just to get to the end of September.
So that is a correct statement, but I can share with you the process that we're using now to get and estimate actual costs as accurately as possible. When, a couple weeks ago with the supplement one change order, I think the board heard that there was quite a lag in contractor billings. That really was the reason for our information was not as in real time. It was far behind. What we have done in the last, I don't know, 6 weeks or so, and we're pretty well caught up now, is we, every day in the field, for the force account work, it's time and materials, so there is an inspector that monitors how much time is spent for labor, for equipment, and at the end of the day, the contractor generates a TWA, that's a tentative work agreement. That is an agreement between the inspector and the contractor for that level of effort. Both parties sign. Then in turn, the contractor bills that later in an extra work bill. So what we're doing now, we're doing our own estimates based on the TWAs. So the information in this supplement 2 reflects TWAs and estimates that are done through September 17th.
My last question at the moment would be to direct to county council. If we don't approve this today, what do you have to say about it? What do you think would happen? Do you have, I mean, legally wise, what would happen if we don't approve this?
I mean, my understanding from staff is that some of this work has already been completed, and I have to think that the contractor would feel that they're entitled to payment for work already completed at the county's direction, certainly. Beyond that, in terms of work that has not yet been completed or not yet been undertaken, my assumption, and I mean, I would defer, I think this is less a legal question than a logistical one to some extent, but I would presume that the contractor would stop doing this work.
I would say that's dependent upon where the board wants to be. If we're saying we are not going to approve this, and it's not a consideration, we'd have a burden to tell the contractor that, and very likely he would pull off the job along with his workers and his equipment.
And the costs associated with that? Would they not assume a cost for them to pull off?
Sure.
And then if
Yes, I would imagine so.
we figure something out and tell them to come back, there's a cost associated with that also, is that not correct?
And yes, but also hopefully the people and the equipment and all that could come back, but we're at a critical time in the season right now where if they pull off now, we've probably lost any ability to do additional work this season, I think practically. And there's downstream ramifications of that too, in order to deliver the project in its entirety within the time frame that our funding would allow. And as you know, we're going to the CTC next month, getting an extension, but I'm pretty sure it would extend the project probably beyond even that request. So that's it's a big decision.
Supervisor Stopper?
I think council just related that, some of this work's been done for the money being asked for. Say we only have an estimated amount of dirt right now in your best estimation. And you also said that they're charging for work actually done. So are they charging for work that they estimated they did?
So
That's what I'm hearing.
And I apologize if I sort of missed, I think what I intended to say, and I appreciate the clarification, is that based on our estimates, they have completed work that will be compensated via this
That's
change
correct.
order.
Yeah, that's correct.
But we're paying based on actual
More estimates.
billing.
But
That's
that's to the
correct.
point, we're paying for actually work done based on an estimated amount.
we will pay for the actual costs should be very close to what we're estimating because we've removed all the variables at this point. We have a tentative work agreement. We have an agreement on the hours for labor and equipment. The rates for the labor and equipment are already established. Those are not negotiable. So for all practical purposes, it's a pretty accurate estimate.
Okay. You have an amount of yards here, and you're saying this is what we're estimated to be over. And then you say, well, you know, rock yards cost different than other yards. And, you know, and I understand that. Rock's harder to dig through, you harder equipment. That makes sense to me. But then when we're looking at this overall price based on yardage that we're gonna have to move in the future, that's gonna be future cost, that may be an overrun, that's already been dug.
So we have the data, the actual information that this was based on is as of September 17th. That was as close as we could get this to real time. So we're trying, so you are correct that there was work done between the 18th and today that we don't have that information at our disposal yet.
Other questions from the board?
Supervisor Vollendorf does have her hand raised. She's a
Supervisor Frondorf?
Got question, I don't know if it's for Craig or Howard, but with this change order, where can we save? Is there any other options or solution on this?
My opinion, I don't think there's another option, but I will say the team is taking steps to minimize, from this point moving forward, whatever this actual cost is, looking at possible ways to reduce the unit cost, right, of the material. Are there design changes that we could do quickly, economically, to reduce the cost in some way? Are there disposal areas for that extra 30,000 yards that would result in lower unit costs for, you know, moving that dirt? So we are looking at all of those options to try with an eye on minimizing the cost to the extent we can.
And Craig, the CTC timeline got brought up. If this is not approved today, how does that impact going in front of the CTC with that request? What kind of time frame are we looking at that delay? Are we gonna have, even though you've submitted a certain amount of time already for their agenda, are you gonna have to ask for added months?
Assuming that we could get the project going again next spring, I would need to, ask them for an immediate change in the back of materials going to the CTC to the meeting in mid-October, asking for a full 20 months. And again, we haven't laid anything out here on the time frame to make sure that we can deliver even by then. I'd like to think we could, but I don't know until we lay it out. So part of that is a dialogue. Where are we going to go with this project? Are we going to see it through, or could we possibly not? I hope that's not where we're at. We're talking about this is the last major piece to finish this thing. The MSC wall is coming up. That's through a separate change order. That's right in the heart of it. And we do need to find homes. There's areas that need that dirt for fill, and some of that stuff, some of the dirt, we'll go ahead and just work into the project site, because it all has to be handled properly to finish off the project. So we're very close. That's why if we can push through now and get as much done this season too, that should also help shorten the work needed next year, which will also help reduce costs just by doing that. That's weather dependent. But we have the crews and the equipment here right now to get this thing done. It'll never be cheaper than right now, and to meet the timelines that we've been working on with the CTC.
And the Sukut's intent here with what is on the table is to try to finish Hunt Road this season now, to get that done. That, you know, some of these things that the team is looking on to, you know, refine where some of the material goes. That's coming, I think, really into much more focus, and that's what we're looking at, with hopes to finish that this season, the Hunt Road.
And just, I think Supervisor Fallon hit on some of this, I know the board's aware, we are looking for, you know, it's a little late in the game, but we're still looking at ways to finish the job, to retain all the functionality, but if possible, if we can deliver some of the connections and things, maybe in a different way, if we could save money in a timely, you know, everything has to be in a timely manner with Caltrans approvals and all that. But we continue to look at all those kinds of things too. Are there little tweaks that we can do to reduce the cost of the project? Are there areas of dirt, which in a conversation just yesterday, one of the cuts on the eastern end, there's a big hump in the existing Highway 4 coming off of Appaloosa, and we need to bring that down. But can we do that in a way where we're not making as severe a cuts, meaning leave some of that dirt there if we can, and don't move it if we don't have to? You know, that's the cheapest dirt yet. You know, if you don't cut it, you don't need to move it. So we're working with our design engineer and geotech to see if that's possible. So these are things that are actively being worked on and refined all the time. We have to deal with the dirt, finish, fill the areas that need to be filled, lose the dirt that needs to be kind of lost on the job in excess in the least expensive way possible. That's an ongoing thing that we're doing, you know, every week. We're reviewing those things.
Supervisor Fondorf, do you have further questions? Okay.
Mark?
I was going to ask
Sorry, Mark?
really quickly, if this wasn't to pass today, what permits would be affected that are currently in place?
I think one of the things that we're concerned about is making sure that we're, and I want to be really clear, I'm going to the MSE wall, and there's a channelization of Nassau Creek that's going on in conjunction with that wall. You know, we should be out through our permits, have that channel reestablished and the work finalized. But I need to be clear, that should be able to be done just through the change order 62 or 3, the one specific to the wall. That ought to be able to be completed. But all throughout the project site, you know, we're going to have to take appropriate measures like any other contractor would when you hit winter to button things up as well.
So just one clarification on the channel work, and, you know, that's a different change order. It's agreed price change order. However, the ends of that channel, there is still some roadway excavation or force account work that would be needed. It's not much, but I can't say that it's zero. So if this were not to be approved and we cease to do any more of that, you know, tying it into existing Nassau Creek, I mean, that could affect that. So,
Well, I think Craig said it when he said it's never going to be cheaper than it is right now, and I'm a believer in that. This is a major artery for our county. 4,500 cars, over 4,500 cars use that piece of road every day. It is an evacuation route for our county. I think just in the time that I've been associated with this project, the goalposts have always changed, and I anticipate that they're going to continue to change, but it's got to be done. I don't see any way out, and I do believe what Craig says, that stopping this is going to cost us far more than just continuing and getting the project done. That's my 2 cents.
Supervisor Toffenelli?
So is there a cost associated with them shutting down for the winter and then coming back? Do we have added cost?
There would be. We can't just, wrap up and demob and walk away. There would be temporary erosion control, costs of buttoning up the project before construction is complete. And essentially, what that would translate into, there will be erosion control costs. There already are. They're already factored into the project. We have bid item, it's bid item work. So we have prices, established prices for all that. What I'm talking about, if we walked away right now, there would be temporary erosion control costs that are not factored in. We're not planning on those costs. So there would be that cost this season.
And then you mentioned the creek and where it's at now.
Right.
And if we walked away from it right now and left it and we had some good rain over the course of the winter, is that creek way it's sitting right now able to, so we would have some other areas that would be impacted when we come back? We
That's
won't know
correct.
what we have.
There would be, there would be impacts there. There would be issues with, permit violations with not essentially, connecting. It has to be connected. All that is done with, Department of Fish and Wildlife permit, stream bed alteration agreement. So we have to honor the, the conditions of that permit, of other permits. So it would,
So if we just walked away and left it the way it is right now and those violations happen, then the costs associated with what this change order is asking would be greater than this change order before we could even get back to start doing the work that's needed.
that is correct.
And any other erosion that happened in the area that's not secured for winter and washing down into that creek area because we disturbed the dirt and didn't set it back up for winterization would have a major impact and cost for us also, correct?
That is correct.
Not finishing that channel just can't happen. We have to finish that channel. Absolutely.
Do we have an estimated time frame to complete that channel? Because everything's on an estimate.
Yes, it is.
Critical path seems to me as a time frame, but that doesn't seem to be in this project. But do we have an estimated time frame?
Looking for the end of October.
We're shooting for the end of October, so another 6 weeks,
Correct.
5 weeks, 6 weeks. And then it'll be ready, if the rains start in November, we'd be in a position where that creek is up to where it needs to be per our permits and Fish and Wildlife.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to add something too.
Yeah, okay, Amanda?
Craig or Howard, one of you, and also with this creek, doesn't the adjacent landowner rely on that water, ensuring that that water gets into their property? Because we've already taken away a water source.
Didn't understand the question, Amanda, sorry.
The water, if we stop the creek, if we stop the work, the water flow of that creek, the adjacent property owner is relying on that water flow this winter and into spring. Isn't that correct? We've already taken a water source away.
Yeah, I believe so. It would, there would still be water. It just wouldn't, it would be a mess. And the water wouldn't go where it needs to go.
We might have a lake there.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that adjacent business is relying on that water being.
I can't speak specifically to
He does.
to who is relying on that water downstream, but, I mean, just practically speaking, I think that's an accurate statement. I don't know the details of who relies on it, though.
Unless it's been 100% diverted, I mean, flow would slow until said area filled and then flow on. Physics, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is there further discussion from this board? If not, I will seek a motion. Item 22,
Can I just say before we do?
please.
What would happen if we continued this to the next meeting? Because I'm not sure I have enough information here. I'm just wondering what would happen if we continued it.
I think, again, I need to hear back from you, so I could communicate to the contractor that we're going to keep them, this isn't saying stop work, this is keep working until, we take this up again. Because I can see them being very concerned.
Supervisor Stopper.
I make a motion to continue this into the future so that we can get more information, because we're dealing with estimates right now.
So we have a motion on the floor to continue this item. Is there a second for
I
that?
would second that.
Second by Supervisor Toffenelli. Any further discussion from the board regarding this? Very well. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll? The motion is to continue this item to our next meeting,
To the next meeting? Okay.
correct?
District 1,
Made the motion.
Aye.
District 2,
Aye.
District 3,
Aye.
District 4,
No.
District 5.
Aye.
Passes 4-1-0 of the board.
Okay, we'll see you guys at the next meeting to take this up again. Item 23. I think you guys are still on, so don't leave.
Howard, you'll be available to have this by phone, I can call you and ask questions?
Anytime, yes, I'm available.
Item 23, Agreement, Public Works, authorize the board chair to execute Amendment 14 to Agreement 12001806 with Dewberry Engineers Inc., increasing the maximum amount payable by $578,262.81 for a total amount not to exceed $3,399,288 and extending the term through December 31, 2025.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'll just remind the board in big picture that this contract with Dewberry, not only does it provide our project management services, but actually the largest component of the contract also provides for tribal monitoring, which we're required to have, as well as specialized attorney and appraisal services and so forth related to our right-of-way. Those latter two is it's over $400,000 of this requested $578,000 contract is for the tribal monitoring and the right-of-way, services, just in perspective. Again, the staff report chronicles the different changes that were made. Those are driven, as the whole project has been, primarily due to cultural fines and the extension of work and additional things that need to be evaluated. So this contract is just an extension that would get us through the 2025 construction period and cover all those activities I just said and through that time.
Questions from the board? All right, is there public comment on this item? Mr. Butler, you have 3 minutes.
My name is Christopher Budner, publisher of Calaveras 2024election.com. I object to the chair authorizing the execution of Amendment 14 to Agreement 1200-1806 with Dewberry Engineers, increasing the maximum amount payable by $578,262.81 for a total amount not to exceed $3,379,288 and extending the term through December 31, 2025. I have every expectation that the chair will ignore my objection to authorizing the execution of Amendment 14 to Agreement 1200-1806 with Dewberry Engineers Incorporated. That said, it takes a lot of nerve or lack of self-awareness, or perhaps both, for this Board of Supervisors, consisting of 4 serial campaign finance filing violators, 4 elected officials who cannot even meet the basic minimum requirement for timeliness, accuracy, or honesty in their legal responsibility to the state, to be spending hundreds of thousands and now millions of dollars on a project that is now nearing a 120% cost overrun, spending money like drunken sailors, and we're not even out of phase 1 of this project. That's right, this $24 million project is approaching $53 million. When will this end, and how high will it go? This boondoggle exemplifies the John Hurt quote from the 1997 movie Contact, based on the book of the same name, authored by famed astronomer and educator Carl Sagan. Quote, "First rule in government spending, why build one when you can have 2 at twice the price," end quote. How dare this Board of Supervisors potentially drive this county towards bankruptcy, echoing real concerns vocalized by retiring District 2 Supervisor Garamendi as a real and growing threat to the financial solvency of Calaveras County. Before any amendments to any agreements are authorized, there must be a forensic audit conducted to determine how and why a project manager and a construction manager were unable to effectively manage the project construction and these cost overruns. My name is Christopher Budner, publisher of Calaveras2024election.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment? Mr. Segala.
Al Segala, Taxpayers Association. This may be, now hindsight's so much accurate than foresight, but the basic question is, why is the county attempting to build a state freeway? Can't Caltrans build freeways? Is this a Caltrans freeway and we're trying to build it for them? It should be a simple answer to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment in the room? Is there any public comment online?
There is no online public comment.
Very well, I'll bring it back to the board for further discussion. Mr. Stopper.
Just thank you, Al, because that same question came up long ago. And 2014, 2015 Board of Supervisors decided that they were going to flex their muscles and they were going to take it all under the county instead of the state doing it through Caltrans at that time. So, you know, it's a big project. A lot of things can happen in these type of situations, and you know, it's best, you know, in my perspective, to leave it to the state in the future.
Other comments from board members? Supervisor Fallendorf,
I have a question.
please.
Are there any other anticipations of cultural findings that will significantly impact the time frame or drive the cost up even further?
Any known cultural findings?
Anticipated.
Anticipated?
Anticipated.
There's no anticipated, but
Anticipated, yeah, sorry if my mic's not coming through, anticipated.
yeah. No, there's been, the one thing we have going in our favor is we're running out of real estate to turn the dirt on, and that's when we find these things. And I mean, seriously, there's not a lot of virgin ground left to turn. They still have follow-up work they're doing related to it, as well as the archaeologists done through Alta and Dawkins contract. And they still have a backlog of work and reports they need to do to document the finds that have been made to date.
Other questions, Supervisor Fallendorf?
No, that's all I have right now.
Okay. Supervisor Hubbard?
I was going to say that I think 22 and 23 sort of go obviously hand in hand. And would it be possible, instead of waiting 2 weeks, to actually do a special meeting next Tuesday to address all these questions, and we just give ourselves a week instead of 2 weeks? Is that possible, County Council?
It is possible.
I mean, yeah, in terms of timelines, a special meeting can be agendized on 24 hours' notice, so that it's theoretically possible, yes.
I just think waiting 2 weeks is, I've been thinking about it after I voted yes. I would just, if we could get it done in a week, I think it'd be.
Are we backtracking on the last item?
No, I was just saying that I thought that the two actually go hand in hand, so that was a question.
Right, yeah, no,
Yeah, we could do any of those things. It's the discretion of the board. Is there a motion to approve this, or is there an alternate motion?
I have a question.
Supervisor Toffenali.
How much of this increase doesn't, that I can see here, reading it, and I read it before, how much is for our council, special council? How much is for the artifacts? Do we have any numbers on that?
It's approximately $70,000 for the special counsel and appraisals.
70,000?
Right, for all
And the
that.
rest would be cultural?
325,000 is tribal monitoring. And then
It's about 184,000 for the project management services.
Yeah, I was going to make a motion to continue this item to a future date for consideration to gather more data.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second to continue this to the next meeting?
I'll second.
Second by Supervisor Toffenali. Craig?
Just again, understanding that, we're going to still have Dewberry doing their work until and unless you tell us otherwise. So 2 weeks is timely. I think it's important they know we're going to take this up and consider it then.
Right now, we're
Two.
at 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
The next meeting.
October 8th.
No further comments? Madam Clerk, will you call the roll? The motion is to continue this item 23 to the next meeting.
District 1,
Aye.
District 2,
Aye.
District 3,
Aye.
District 4,
No.
District 5.
Aye.
Passes 4-1-0, vote of the board.
Okay, item 23 will be at our next meeting.
Thank you.